Okay, well, let's get started then. So please get your note-taking outline out, and after making sure that your name is on it, and in the subject hashtag or subject number line you have put in the rules, please go ahead and start writing down this information as you see it on the screen. And this should go in historical context, the very top portion of your notes. And so Rule A is the one that I've decided that should be above all of the other rules. And I'm saying please don't talk or make other distractions when I'm speaking. I wouldn't even really be talking to you during art class unless I had something meaningful to say. And so most of the time when you hear me talking to you all in a directive tone of voice, I am either speaking to you about lecture information that you will need on your notes that you may use later in projects and also as a resource on your quizzes, or I'm giving you instructions on how to go about performing the right types of activities that are going to give you success in the art project that we're attempting to make at that time. So although I am saying please, I'm not really asking you, I'm telling you, I'm simply trying to be nice about it, and I'm also trying to address the needs of everybody else in the class that may need directions or need the information during a lecture. So please don't talk or make other distractions like scooting around in your chair or talking to your neighbor or clicking your pen or other things that I'm sure we could come up with a great long list about. And I will be very helpful to you, and that will be helpful to us all. Thank you. All right. Well, let's move on then to part number 1 on your notes today on the rules and expectations. Okay? And it's important that you be on time for class. We really never have enough time to get all of the things we need to get done in this class accomplished in one class period. And there are a lot of interruptions to what we do as well. So our classes are only about 43 minutes long, and as a result of that we have to get as much done as possible in class. And when you show up late for class, that causes us to slow the operation down for everybody else, and these are group lessons. So please be on time. The class begins. You can look at the chart on the wall. And it will show you when your class begins and ends, or you may also consult your student handbook, and that also shows you exactly the schedule and when your class begins and ends. But at this particular time, I think we can pause and look at the chart on the wall, and that will answer that question for us. So what happens when we are tardy? Well, the first time, if you're new around here, I will have some mercy on you, and I'll warn you that you need to be getting to class on time, and I will make a mark of TU, meaning tardy unexcused, in my seating chart right next to your name. Now, the next time you show up without some sort of reasonable written excuse or a call or an email from a teacher or administrator, I'm going to mark you tardy, and I'm warning you, and that's the W, and I will say to you, I am warning you that if you continue this behavior, that there will be consequences the next time, and I will make this mark in my seating chart next to your name. So the third time you show up late to class without some sort of a reasonable written notice to me from a teacher or an administrator or an email or a phone call from them, then I'm going to have to write a counseling referral for you, and that's what the TC means, that I'm counseling you about your tardiness problems now. We don't have many days in our quarter, usually between 41 and 45, and so this is slowing the operation down. After that, if you are tardy yet a fourth time, then I'm going to be giving you detention for that kind of behavior. And although I'm somewhat tolerant with the 6th graders, I am less tolerant with 7th and 8th graders about this. You need to be to class on time, please. If you then become tardy yet a 5th time, it will be necessary for me to submit disciplinary referrals for you, and then you will then need to speak with one of the assistant principals about this particular problem you have about getting to class on time. So really, simply just be to class on time, and none of us have to, try to accommodate you if you are tardy numerous times. Thank you. Okay, well then let's move on to part 2 of our rules and expectations here, and that concerns physical contact. That means touching other people or moving into their personal space. This extends to their personal items as well, so don't be touching each other's stuff. Don't be taking each other's artwork. Do not be having physical contact with each other out of love or out of anger. A lot of us just don't understand what that might be amounting to in a classroom setting. So it's inappropriate, and we want you to know that that type of physical contact is forbidden in this class, meaning that you can't do it. It's not appropriate for this classroom. Now, if you literally are helping somebody up off of the floor if they should trip or fall, we will talk about that, and then we will perhaps come to some sort of a reasonable and understandable conclusion about that. But almost always, and in almost all cases, do not touch each other. Do not touch each other out of love or anger. This extends to anything you might be holding, such as a ruler or a yardstick or a pencil or an eraser or any such thing as that as well, or your folder. That kind of behavior is strictly off limits and should not happen in this classroom. Alright, well, thank you for your attention. Now, we're time for us to move on to part 3. So you should be in your note-taking outline, which we discussed earlier. You should be on part 3 filling in this information as we go. So, disorderly conduct. I think we all know what that is. It's running in the halls, pushing and shoving, cursing and swearing, like you have no vocabulary, taking people's artwork, running around this classroom, throwing things in it, anything that interrupts or causes a disruption to the normal good order and learning environment of this classroom is probably disorderly conduct. And I will call you on it immediately if I see it happening, and then if this becomes a pattern, then there will have to be some sort of consequence or penalty associated with that. And so it's important that we do everything in group lessons like we do in this classroom in an orderly fashion. So if you ask yourself, is what I am doing or about to do orderly? Is it good for the classroom? Is it helping out with the art class and the art project? And if the answer is no or probably not, then you probably shouldn't do it. So disorderly conduct, much like physical contact, is also forbidden, meaning it's not acceptable for the art classroom and not acceptable for most classrooms in this particular school. So please do not engage in anything that's not orderly and does not help the classroom out in general. Thank you very much. Well, okay. Let's move on then to part 4 of our rules and expectations lecture and note-taking exercise here. This part is about school guest and substitute teachers. I rarely miss school, but I do periodically have to go and take care of business, or I do have to go and see the doctor or the dentist. And so periodically I will be out of the classroom, and so it's important that you behave in a manner like I was here anyway and continue to do your work, or I will leave some meaningful activity for you to do. Now, as far as school guests goes, guest speakers, presenters down in the gymnasium, anybody that may be a therapist, or maybe checking in from another classroom, or perhaps members of the law enforcement community, which we see around here quite frequently. Those people also are to be treated with respect and cooperation around here. So if I find out that you have been misbehaving and I have the substitute to leave the notes for me, then I will take some sort of action to correct your behavior, and that could also go for the entire class if it turns out to be a rowdy class. So please, when I'm not here, just simply do your work as I have left for you to do, or I have told you that you need to do, such as working on projects, or perhaps taking notes, or doing reading and writing exercises in my absence. And everybody will be very happy. So when I'm gone, I don't want you to be just good, and when we have school guests around here, I don't want you to just be good. I want you to be very good. So make sure you write that in bold letters, underlined, and with exclamation points. And if you cannot be very good, then you are going to have consequences and potentially penalties for that type of behavior. So simply be cooperative with the school guests and other officials that we have around here, and substitute teachers, and everything will be fine, and we will all be a lot happier. Thank you. Okay, well, let's move on then to part number 5. In this classroom, we do have a lot of equipment, and we do have a lot of areas that we use for storage and other purposes as well. And so I think it's pretty important that right now we take a brief tour around the room here, and I can explain to you some of the restricted areas that I think you need to stay out of. And if you stay out of these areas, we're going to have a lot less issues. You have the entire classroom, whereas there are certain areas you need to stay out of. Some of the restricted areas we have in this classroom would be as follows. Over here, of course, we like to keep the classroom doors shut, but this is my bathroom. I don't want you in the bathroom, although if there is a tornado or tornado drill, the bathroom will be used as a shelter area. Over here we have the kiln room. The kiln room is where we fire ceramics and pottery. There are ovens in there called kilns, very hot. They are not, we are restricted from letting students in there. It is also off limits to students. However, if there is a tornado or a tornado drill, we will take shelter in there. Back here behind my desk, I want you to stay completely out of this area as I work back here and plan all of the instruction for your fine projects and learning in this classroom. Over in this area right here, we have the office area. And back here I do some planning. I don't want you in my office area, although if there is a tornado or a tornado drill, it is a shelter area, and some of you will be placed in there for shelter. Moving along behind the restricted area of my desk, we come over to here. This is the supply room. The supply room is also a restricted area for students. However, if there is a tornado or a tornado drill, some of you will be sheltered in there as well. We're going to change gears just slightly here, and we're coming over to the fire exit, indicated by the words fire exit. If we should ever have a fire, then or a fire drill, we will go out this door. We will proceed up along the side of the building, looking out for that air conditioner so you don't hit your head on it. It hangs out the edge of the classroom. We'll continue up the edge of the building until such time as we have to look out for the next air conditioner, and then we will walk all the way out to the grass, and we will line up, and I will take attendance so that we can finish up with our fire drill or the actual emergency if such is necessary. Meanwhile, in our tour of the room, these are the storage shelves where we keep the art folders at. Okay, it is really quite simple. If you are on first period, you will put yours in first drawer indicated by 1. Same all the way down through here. Okay, and so forth. There's 5 drawers, so there should be enough for everybody easily. Okay, if you were in second period, you would do the same, third period, fourth, and then also in 7th and in 8th period. So they are in horizontal rows, so there doesn't have to be a lot of problems with people backing up. Please be careful when you close the drawers so that you don't injure anybody. Meanwhile, that's about all there is to know right now. So I think that little tour of the classroom there and of the restricted areas is pretty useful and also informative about fire escapes and also where you are going to be storing your folders and stuff. So the restricted areas officially are the bathroom, the kiln room, the office area, which includes everything behind my desk area, and also the storage room. However, do remember that all of these are tornado safety areas in the event that we should have a tornado drill or an actual tornado. Well, we're making good progress here. So let's move on to part 6 of our notes on the rules and expectations and what you can come to understand about art. And people ask me often, what is it that we really study in here? And the answer is a lot of people give is, well, art. And, well, that's true, but just like in math, you understand and learn addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and so forth. And in art, there are also disciplines. And so the first thing that we study is how to communicate a message through the use of colors and shapes. And that would be design. And so these are some projects that we do, and this looks like a 6th grade project. And in this case, we can see a 7th grade design project, which is similar but uses radically different colors to achieve the same message. This is an example of an 8th grade design project, and as you can see, now we have changed from just circles and triangles and stripes to something much more organic, and we use all of these particular symbols to help us create a message that our viewer can understand and appreciate. This is an example of an 8th grade advanced art design project. These are like as if you had your own symbol or your own flag or banner, what your beliefs and certain aspects of your own personality and what you believe in are shown in these designs. Once we've completed our unit on design and had our quiz and graded our projects, then of course we move on to the next unit, and in this case that would be drawing. And in drawing we look at things closely and we try to carefully understand what we're seeing, and we use various tools like perspective and foreshortening and our ability to break things down into smaller, more understandable pieces. And so we will make projects similar to what we see here in this 6th grade example. In the 7th grade, we do a perspective study, and so we take almost a week to draw out a picture of a city, and then we will eventually paint that in. And so here is an example of a 7th grade completed project that has been painted in. In the 8th grade, then we are able to take our understanding of what we've learned in the 7th grade perspective class and perspective projects, and then we apply that to multi-point, or in this case 2-point perspective, where we make a drawing of a city with more complex doors, windows, and signs, and we also use texture in this as well. And here is an example of an 8th grade drawing project. And in the advanced art class for 8th graders, we take a more complicated route to understanding what we are looking at. And so we do a project that involves a subject matter like a car, and then the car is set up so that there is a surrounding that the artist puts in themselves, and then we simply color that in, and then we divide it up into a grid square system, and then we are able to draw it out so it is an original creation on a larger piece of paper and colored in. This is an example of the 8th grade advanced art drawing projects. And our last unit that we will be getting involved in during our art class for 1 quarter will be, of course, painting. And at that time we'll be studying some color theory, and we'll try to understand how to darken and lighten colors, and make a series of projects, of course, like we do with every other unit, and we will be able to explore how paint works a little bit more in depth, and how it reflects light, and how texture is important to the beauty of a good painting. And so we will do projects like you see here with this 6th grade project, which is a color wheel project. In the 7th grade, we continue to explore what we understand about painting a little bit more, and we actually paint in, according to a formula that uses various types of color schemes, our drawing that we made of the 1-point perspective city and detailed it out. And it should look something like this. And of course, if you're an 8th grade student, then we do a acrylic painting that looks similar to either this one of the lighthouse, or sometimes we will also do the covered bridge painting. Either of these use various brush strokes that are very important to understanding how paint texture and paint light, and how using different color schemes work together to make something that is visually interesting to look at. And then, of course, after we have a unit-ending quiz for all the grades and grade our projects, then we'll be moving on to the next quarter after that. Usually we are about out of time by the time we get through design, drawing, and painting. Alright, well, now let's move on to part 7. How do you get your grades in art class anyway? There seems to be a misperception amongst a lot of students that just showing up and scribbling something that you want down on stuff is somehow going to achieve the goals of what we're trying to teach and what you should be trying to learn in this class. So there is a lot of thinking that has to be done, and there is a lot of work. And some people who are not willing to put in that work do not succeed. And others who work really hard, although they may not have much talent, they succeed anyway. And so it's important that you work hard when we're doing this. And so the first thing you need to know is that your notes and your quizzes go together, and this is a big portion of your grade. This is a note-taking outline. So this is a note-taking outline. If you use good notes, then you can succeed on the quizzes. And so this is a quiz. This is a typical quiz. Other quizzes have different information, but they all pretty much look alike. So if you have good notes, then the answers to the quizzes are easy. If you have not got good notes, then the quizzes can be very complex and difficult. This is a notes evaluation form. We use this when we grade the notes. So if you have good notes, you'll get a good grade on this form, and if you have good notes, you will also do well on the quizzes, as I told you earlier. Now, the second thing that we grade in art class, of course, are projects. And we make several projects throughout the course of a 9-week period. And then at the end of a unit, we grade notes, we grade the quizzes, and of course then we grade the projects. The projects are graded on a form like this. So on the project grading form like this, you can see that we put a place for the project, and of course we ask you, did you follow directions? Did you finish the project? Did it have interesting colors and shapes? Did you do your very best? And of course, did you come up with some sort of creative, new and interesting solution? We add all that up, and that's how we get a grade on your art projects. Now, the third thing that you get grades on in art class, of course, is something that we will call your daily working grade. We do these once a week, and it's really a summation of your daily work habits in our classroom. And there's 5 things that I always have you evaluate yourself on, and then if I agree with you, then I will concur with that grade, and if I don't, then I will change it and leave a note or explain to you why your grade was changed either up or down. So this is what we use as our daily working grade form. So as you can see on the daily working grade form, which we do once a week really, it has a scale on it like everything else in our class, and it asks you to self-evaluate yourself on how you use your time and whether you're keeping up with the lesson and the projects, and do you get along with your classmates and also with your school in general and your teachers. Do you abide by the rules of not just the classroom but of the school in general, and are you able to apply things that I teach you without further instruction? We call that application of principles. And all of this adds up, and then if I agree with you, I simply agree with you, and if I don't, then I will change your grade and I will explain to you why that happened. And so that's how we assess your work habits in art class. So to wrap up how you go about getting your grades in art class, of course each of these are pretty much equally weighted, so your notes, projects, and your work habits all go together to determine your grade in my class. And in art class, everything is on a 0 to 10 scale. It turns out that that is something I believe that young students, especially middle schoolers, can wrap their minds around. So 0 on anything means you simply just did not do it or cooperate at any level, whereas a 10 would be a perfect score on projects, which is a rarity, although 10s are achievable all the time in notes, quizzes, and also daily work. And so I've designed the class so that there's numerous ways for students to succeed at this. It's a rarity that anybody ever fails art class, but it does happen, usually just getting behind in work, bad attendance. These interruptions to your learning are very detrimental to your grades in this class. Everything is posted on Progress Book, and you can check it any time. If you have questions about a grade, you can always see me and I will explain it to you as best as I can. Alright, well, we are making very good progress here in our notes on the rules and expectations on this very first day of class. So that brings us to part number 8, cleaning up. We have a lot of students. My classes typically have large numbers of students in them, and we do a lot of project-based work, and when it comes time to clean up, we have to do that really quite quickly. And so I will tell you when to clean up. I am very resistant to you putting your stuff away before I've told you to do that. And so you are expected to work the entire period until such time as I tell you to clean up your equipment and your materials, or put away your notes if we happen to have lecture that particular day. So as far as cleanup goes, that will be done on my direction. I will tell you when to clean up. When we are doing design work, it doesn't take us very long to put things away. On the other hand, if we are making paintings, then it takes quite a bit longer to get things out, and as a result of that also to put them away and clean up the area for the next class. And so we will be cleaning up approximately 5 minutes before we get to the end of class. If there are individuals who are sitting near my desk in the case that we have a substitute, it would be really very helpful if you would explain to that substitute about 5 minutes before the end of class that we are supposed to start cleaning up. And we would all be very grateful for that, but under normal circumstances I will tell you when to clean up, and you're expected to work up until the very end of class. Thank you. Okay, well, thanks for your patience. We're making very good progress here. And so the next subject is number 9, and this concerns hall passes. And we only have 43 to 45 days together with each other, so it's important that we limit the time that you spend out of class. It's important that we maximize the amount of time that you spend in class working on your projects. So because of that, I have limited your hall passes to 3 per quarter. And we keep the hall passes, of course, up on the hall pass register. I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's kept at my desk. Simply sign yourself out and the time that you left and where you're going, and be quick about your business coming back. And usually if you're gone for more than 5 minutes, I'll be calling the office because we'll be looking for you. So to keep track of your hall passes, in my seating chart, we have a system. So the first time you use the hall pass, I put a diagonal mark next to your name. And then the second time you use it, I cross that over, making an X. The third time you use it, I circle it. Now, if you don't sign out on the hall pass, I will still keep track of your hall passes in my seating chart, and so you may find sometimes that there is a conflict, but whatever is written in the seating chart is what is going to be the rule here. So you get 3 hall passes. You should use them wisely, and if at the end of the quarter for some reason or another you are very close to the next higher grade for some reason, I will figure out a way to help you do that if you have been in class all the time and have not used any of your hall passes. They're there for emergencies, but I would not exploit that use. I would not use them very quickly. Now, if you're an individual that has special circumstances, such as a medical circumstance where you have to leave the room frequently, well, then we simply just need to work that out discreetly. So if you would bring me a note from the doctor, or you would have one of the clinic ladies send me an email or send me a copy of your doctor's rationale for why you need to leave the classroom more frequently, or drink water, or any other special needs that you may have, then simply approach me. We will work that out, and we will be discreet about it. However, I also expect that you will not use that for anything other than official business purposes, and we'll all get along really well. So use your hall passes very carefully. Well, that brings us almost to the very end of our lecture and note-taking on the rules and expectations. And now we're at part 10. And the what we have here really is just written out emphatically, yes, with underlines and exclamation points. And I told you earlier that if you have notes, I will allow you to use your notes on your quizzes. And so this is simply the answer to the quiz question on the rules quiz, which we will be taking next week some point in time when everybody knows the rules. So the answer is simply yes. The question is, will violation of the art class rules result in penalties? And the answer is yes. Now, the penalty will be appropriate to whatever the behavior is. And if I can simply say to you, would you please stop that, and you say yes, then that's all we have to do. However, if it's important enough to you to persist in this misbehavior that I have to give you detention, call your parents, or write you disciplinary referrals, then that's okay with me as well. I've done that many times, but it's important to the good nature and order of the class that everybody work hard. And if you're working hard, you won't have time for any sort of misbehavior that will get you in trouble. So the answer to the question, will there be penalties for violation of the art class rules, is yes. So now we're at the very end of our first set of notes. And I appreciate your patience in this. I think it's important that everybody understands what the expectations are in a classroom, especially one that is a project-based classroom such as art. So I always attempt to give you all additional information that you can use on quizzes at a later time, and that comes as extra credit information. Sometimes you get called out of class, or you just miss stuff, or you have incomplete notes. This is an opportunity for you to be able to get that additional information and also get a better score on a quiz, even though there is no risk if you should miss it. So in the rules quiz here, the question is, for extra credit, where did I attend middle school at between the years of 1976 and 1978? And the answer is Ferguson Middle School in Beaver Creek. At the time, it was actually a junior high, so we had 7th, 8th, and 9th graders went to school there. Now, Ferguson has been changed to some other sort of educational building, and Coy Middle School has replaced it down just across the river and the bridge here just outside of Xenia. So, over the next couple of days, we will be making folders to store all of your artwork in and your notes. But for now, you need to hang on to your notes until we can get your folder made in the next 2 days. Thanks for your attention, and good luck. I think art class will be a big hit for everybody. Thank you.